word from the Lord. John chapter 5, verses 1 through 9. I'll be reading from the New King James Version. If it's your custom to stand when the word is read, we ask that you would do so. If not, just feel comfortable remaining seated. You're comfortable. John chapter 5, verses 1 through 9. I'm reading from the New King James Version. I see some of you are up with technology. You can pull up the New King James on your smart device. And others, if not, just if you don't have New King James Version, just listen along with me. After this, there was a feast of the Jews, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem.
All right.
And now there in Jerusalem by the sheep gate, a pool, which is called in Hebrew Bethesda, having 5 porches. In these lay a great multitude of sick people. Somebody say sick.
Sick.
Blind, lame, paralyzed, waiting for the moving of the water. Our version, it has verse number 4. Some versions admit it. For an angel went down at a certain time into the pool and stirred up the water. Then whoever stepped in first after the stirring of the water was made well of whatever disease he had. Now a certain man was there who had an infirmity 38 years. Somebody said that's a long time.
That's a long time.
When Jesus saw him lying there and knew that he had been in that condition a long time, he said to him, "Do you want to be made well?"
Amen.
The sick man answered him, "Sir, I have no man to put me into the pool when the water is stirred up. But while I'm coming, another steps down before me." Jesus said to him, "Rise, take up your bed and walk."
Yes.
And immediately the man was made well, took up his bed, and walked. And the day was the Sabbath.
All right.
Let us pray. Father, we ask now that you would open our spiritual eyes that we might see in the spiritual realm, our spiritual ears that we might hear what the Spirit is saying to the church, to us individually as well as collectively. Now, God, as you've done in the past, allow the words of my mouth, meditation of my heart to be acceptable in thy sight. You are my strength and my redeemer. Give me strength in my soul. Speak to me and through me a word that's relevant for today, that we can immediately apply to our lives when we leave out of this building. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Pastor, there are a few things that I have issue with in this text. The first thing that I have issue with in this text is how long this man had been sick. 38 years. But it wasn't just 38 years. It was 38 years that he had done the same thing year after year after year. I had a problem with he came to the pool of Bethesda year after year, and had Jesus not come along, no doubt he would have been there the 39th and the 40th and the 41st year until they put him in his grave. The second issue that I have with this text, Pastor, is that when you do some research on it, we cannot get a consensus on what this body of water is, whether it was a public bath or whether it was a watering hole for the animals and for men. But we do know that it was in Jerusalem. It was by the sheep gate where they brought the sacrifices that were to be made. But what we do know is that it was some water. So what I want you to do is I want you to use your spiritual imaginations tonight along with me. I need you to talk back to me. I need you to put yourself in this text. Now, Pastor, some folks will get upset with me, but the next thing I have a problem with is that as I look at this text, I understand that there were a lot of people who came to a celebration. And so the Bible says that it was a multitude. There was a lot of lame folk. There was a lot of paralyzed folk. There was a lot of sick folk. There was a lot of beggars who needed help.
That's what you said. All right.
And when you look at this, when I looked at it, I said, well, they were there, they needed help, but look at how they got help. Once a year, it said in verse number 4 that the angel came and troubled the water. And when the water was troubled, after it was troubled, the first person to get in from the paralyzed Olympic was the one that would get healed. And so they would go home with a promise, but everybody else.
All right. Come on now.
And then, Pastor, you could appreciate this. It said that when they got in, that he, as though there were no women who were sick.
All right.
And I understand that because I've read my Bible a little bit. There was a woman that was sick.
Yeah.
All right.
Come on, preacher.
With the issue of blood. And she was a rich woman because the Bible said she spent all that she had.
Trying to get.
And I would imagine that if she could have went to the pool and got in because she was an able body before the paralyzed and the lame, that she would have got healed.
All right.
But you didn't come tonight to hear the problems that I have with the text. But I did tell you that this woman, that these people were beggars.
All right.
And when it comes to beggars, can I just be transparent with you?
All right.
Can I deal with the pink elephant in the room tonight?
Go ahead.
You see, I went today downtown to an establishment to get something, and when I went in, I wasn't bothered. But when I came out and had got in my car, I looked, and there was a man pushing a stroller, and he had a couple of dogs with him. And as he pushed the strollers, and as the dogs came along, and he tried to get my attention, I recognized that he was a beggar, and I didn't want to be bothered with a beggar at that point in time. Now, is there anybody in the church that has been bothered with a beggar when you don't know when to give and when not to give? You don't know when to believe and when not to believe. As a matter of fact, if we had the power, would we not just do away with all beggars? So I wouldn't have to deal with it when I come out of Walmart. I wouldn't have to deal with it when I'm on my vacation at the gas station. I wouldn't have to deal with beggars. But here it was. We could call it the Beggars Convention.
All right, preacher.
And so as I looked at this, I was encouraged. I was inspired by Pastor Mims. And as I studied the text, I looked at verse number 1. And verse number 1, I said, well, if I was going to preach from verse number 1, I could preach when calamity and celebration collide. If you look along with me in the text, you can see that there was a celebration, there was a feast. It was one of the 7 holidays that God has given to his people to celebrate. And so there was calamity at the pool, but celebration at the church. I said, no, that's not the message. And so I went on to verse number 2, and I looked at verse number 2, and as I read verse number 2, I said, well, there's 2 summers I could preach out of. I could preach when the watering hole makes you whole. I could preach it if it wasn't the watering hole, if it was a public bath. I could preach a public bath for a private blessing. But God said, no, Rev, no, Pastor, that's not the sermon. So, Vicky, I looked at verse number 3. Verse number 3, I looked at it, and as I looked at it, I got a little troubled, and then I looked at it, and I said, well, if I was going to preach from this, I'd have to preach a pathetic Paralympics with a promise.
All right.
I said, well, I don't have enough time to preach that one, so I knew I need to go to verse number 4. I looked at verse number 4 and it said, I said, well, if I look at verse number 4, that is omitted in some text, but if they have the text that is in, I could preach the adventures of arrogant angels.
Okay.
And somebody was wondering, well, how do you get there? And I don't have time to deal with it. But you think about it. The angels came once a year. More than one angel. They came once a year. There's a multitude of people there that need to be healed. But every year, the angels looking at each other, looking at the people, and they know that only one of them
It's going to be healed.
But that wasn't the message. I don't have enough time to really deal with that. And I can't encourage you about arrogant angels. And then I looked at verse number 5, and I said, if I'm going to preach from verse number 5, I could preach, don't let your problems paralyze your perception.
All right, preacher. All right.
And I thought about that. That was pretty good. But I said, no, keep going, keep going. And I'm like, God, I'm going to run out of verses here. And I got to verse number 6. Verse number 6, in verse number 6, it said, do you want to be healed? And Jesus said, that's what I want you to preach. It's right there in the text. You don't have to come up with nothing. And so what I want to, for those of you who study, those of you that understand your theology, those of you who are homiletically sound, I want you to understand that I do know a little bit. I know this is a word church, and I know that your pastor teaches you well, and so I want you to understand that I do know a little bit. And so I recognize that I did not read the entire pericope or the entire story. And the reason I didn't is because John, as he puts in, he gives us his picture, as he paints this picture of the third miracle of Jesus. What he does is something that is unusual from the other writers. He gives us a story that has 3 different acts to it. And so I can't come preach all 3 acts tonight. And so I stopped at verse number 9, which is only act number 1. And Pastor, if you are so inclined, you can hit them up with act number 2 and act number 3.
All right, preacher.
Now, she's introduced me as Pastor Jeff Moffitt from Historicals at the Missionary Baptist Church. And now that you know me, you can call me Reverend M. And I am a preacher. And I realized that I came here tonight to preach.
Have your way, Lord. Have your way.
But then God talked to me. And I realized after he talked to me that if I preach, some of you going to hear it. And some of you aren't.
All right.
And so please allow me to bring another approach.
All right.
And so can I just take the robe off? Preachers use robes.
All right.
Can I just take the robe off?
Yeah.
Take it off.
Yeah.
So all you folks that's worried about how long the preacher's going to preach, you can get over that.
Amen.
All right, see, somebody already know. So I'm just going to be a surgeon tonight. Is that okay? And as a surgeon, I've already told you the title of the sermon is, do you want to be healed? And to answer that question, if your ailment requires surgery, you have to give consent to be operated on. I'm just the instrument. I'm the surgeon. But the instrument that we're going to use tonight is the Word of God. And so if you allow the Word of God to cut you, to heal you, then you can leave healed. But if you don't want to consent, that's not my problem. You can just stay and watch the operation. Now, I got a stethoscope, and somebody already know they medical. They said he's a surgeon. They knew by what I had on that I wasn't a doctor. I'm a doctor, but not a nurse, and I wasn't a pediatrician. They knew that I was dressed for surgery. Now, even the surgeon has a
Stethoscope.
help me out. You all know what the stethoscope is for? What's it for? It's to listen to what's going on. Because it's by listening that the surgeon or the doctor determines if you are even fit for surgery.
Come on, Mom.
And so I brought so that I want you to understand that if you're going to have a successful operation tonight, if it's important enough for the doctor and the surgeon to listen, then what do you think you got to do?
Okay.
Let me move on, because somebody said I done used up too much time. Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, do you want to be healed? Now stay with me. I'm a surgeon tonight, but I need you to paint a picture for me. I used to sell cars. Back in 2004, my wife was sick with cancer, and we came from Kuwait back here, and even in Kuwait we had a Friday night live service every Friday, and so we thank God for this Friday fire. But I was here, and I wasn't doing what I'm a satellite engineer by trade with the military, but I came and I had lost my job because I was spending time with my wife, going to every appointment that she went to, and it was a trying time. But what happened was, when she almost was healed and ready to go back to work, rather than going back into the field that I was in, I stayed here to be with her, and I sold cars at Honda Cars of Macon. I was telling you that if in selling cars, that there's some, I didn't know how to buy a car, much less how to sell a car. But I had been selling the gospel for many years, and so I told the sales manager that I knew something about sales. And what I learned was that a lot of people come to the car lot to buy a car, Pastor. But what happens is they leave empty-handed. And I learned why they leave empty-handed. They came to get a car, but they have objections to what they're going to pay for the car.
All right. Yeah.
And their objections, if you can't overcome the objections, you won't sell a car. What are you saying, Reverend? What I'm saying is that when I take that principle tonight, I want to present to you 4 objections that this man had, that if we pay attention to, that we can be healed. But if we have either of these objections, then we're going to have a problem with being healed.
All right.
4 objections that can prevent you and I from being healed. The first objection is when we have an issue with our facts.
All right.
Somebody said, well, what do you mean, Reverend? What? My brothers and sisters, in a crowd of this size, the odds are they would suggest that when we are asked the question, do you want to be healed, that somebody has already said to themselves, or perhaps even whispered to their neighbor, that I'm not sick.
All right.
Perhaps that person never sang the lyrics to the song that says there's a balm in Gilead healing the sin-sick soul. Perhaps that person never had read in the Bible where it says that all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. Church, I don't know tonight, I'm not sure, but there are some people that will deny that the wages of sin is death. But the gift of God is eternal life through Christ Jesus. They have problems with their facts. Now, I pray that none of us here tonight have an issue with our facts. But if you know somebody that does, tell them that Reverend M said, that the surgeon said tonight, that Jesus said it's not the healthy who need a doctor, but it is the sick.
All right. Yeah.
HHMBC, I'm going to need you to help me out tonight. I know that there are some ex-liars in the congregation. I know that there are some ex-players here. I know that there's some ex-adulterers. I know that there's some ex-fornicators. There's some ex-addicts. There's some ex-drunks. I know there's a plethora of other ex-folks that can testify that until they face the fact that they were sick, they could not get healed. The alcoholic can tell you that when they believe that they can control their drinking, when they only drink socially, they will not go and get help. The addict, when says, I can stop smoking these blunts anytime I get ready, will smoke a blunt for breakfast, smoke a blunt for lunch, smoke a blunt before they go to bed. They have a problem, but they are sick.
All right now.
And they got their facts
Yeah.
messed up. Perhaps these folks had not known that they know that it's a sad commentary. That after you hear these things over and over and over again, that even here, Pastor, with the size of the congregation that here tonight, the odds are that somebody came in sick.
Yes.
and they'll leave sick. Sick with what, Reverend M? They came in sick with envy and they're going to leave sick with envy. They came in sick with guilt and they're going to leave sick with guilt. They came in sick with unforgiveness and they're going to leave sick. They came in sick with low self-esteem and they're still going to leave sick.
All right now.
Folks who are still sick from being raped, they still sick from being abused, still sick from the abandonment.
All right.
Come on now.
I don't have time enough to keep going through the line of sickness. The symptoms are there, the results are there, but they don't have their facts right. I'm fine. It doesn't bother me. I made it through it, but yet it's still, if you look up a case study, it's all it needs to do is put your picture right next to the definition. Because you still sick, you still hurting, you still treating everybody else like the person that treated you when they're not that person. You are sick. And you object to facing the facts. When we won't face the facts, it hinders our healing. Church, like the man in the text, these folks go on from year to year ignoring the facts. They keep doing the same thing. They keep getting the same results, but they are expecting something to change in their life. I help you tonight. Can I tell you tonight that if you change what you believe, then you will change what you do. And if you change what you do, then you will get a different result. I can't keep you long tonight. I want you to understand tonight that this thing's already getting good to me. And the first objection is they have an objection to the facts. But to Sister Martha, the second objection they have is they have an objection. That the objection that will prevent you from your healing, you and I, is an objection or issue with our finances.
Oh, all right.
Now, you got real quiet right there. Somebody said, well, you talking about surgery, operation. You talking about getting weight.
Help us.
And you got the nerve to throw in my finances? What does my finances have to do with me being healed? Well, I'm glad you want to know. Just stick with me. I know you want to leave me right now, but just stay with me. I know it's rocky right now, but stay on the train.
Yeah.
The text informs us that there was a whole lot, can I just say a whole lot? A lame, blind, and paralyzed people at this public bath.
That's what it says.
I've already said we could call it the Beggars Convention.
Yeah.
Because these folks were beggars.
Yeah.
Somebody added two and two together in that pastor. You see, if you are a beggar in those days, not like these days, that meant that you had a problem with your finances.
That's right.
And so this man had a problem with his finances because he was a beggar in the Beggars Convention. He was lame, waiting, trying to get healed.
Yeah.
I want you to understand that this objection to finances is not only a physical problem. That yes, he had a problem with his finances. How do I know? Because he had enough money.
Come on. That's
He
right.
could have, like the woman with the issue of blood, he could have got to the best doctors that there were, and perhaps he would have been there at this pool.
All right.
Not only was there a physical problem, but he also had a financial problem. Somebody still scratching their head. Just stay with me. Because of lack of money, these folks could not afford the best doctors. They could not afford the best care. They could not even afford the best caregivers. And I'm going to talk about that, how we know that from the text later on. Somebody is already accusing me of eisegesis, which is giving you what I want to put in the text. But I'm going to show it to you right in the text. He did not have the best caregiver. Okay? Let me help somebody tonight. If you are sick, if you were sick.
All right. Teach it.
Before Obamacare. And you didn't have insurance, and you got sick, you had a financial problem trying to get well and get the help that you needed.
All right.
If you had plenty of money, it didn't matter. If you didn't have it, if you had insurance, your insurance paid and you paid your co-pays.
That's right. Teach Teach that.
But then Obamacare came and he said, let's do away with pre-existing conditions and let's make sure that everybody has some health insurance. Now, let me help you individually tonight. If you happen to have Obamacare and the Republicans are now trying to undo Obamacare, if they are successful, you will understand what I'm talking about the next time you go to the doctor.
That's right. That's right.
You too will have a financial objection.
All right.
It won't be your objection about the finances. It'll be the hospital because they'll say we object to serving you because you don't have enough money. But you will have an objection that I ought not need no money. There was a financial objection.
Yeah.
As we look at this, not only a natural financial issue, but then I learned something. There's a spiritual side, and I don't take credit for stuff that's not mine.
All right.
And so there's Pastor Claude Harris, New Life Church of God in Christ. He says what happens in our finances that it gets the Pac-Man theory. And I don't want to say the same he said, so I call it the Pac-Man syndrome.
All right.
See, the theory is something that has to be proved, but it's along the same line. So what is the Pac-Man theory? What does the Pac-Man syndrome come from? The Pac-Man theory, anybody who's played Pac-Man knows that the Pac-Man's object, the thing that he has to do is eat up everything
That's right. That's
that he
right.
comes in contact
That's
with.
right. That's right.
And so what happens with our finances when we don't do what God tells us to do, the Pac-Man syndrome causes our finance to seem like there's a Pac-Man just eating up all our money. And we don't know where it's going, we just know that it's gone. Seems like the more you work, the more debt you go into. It seems like the more money you get, the more money that you spend. It's a Pac-Man syndrome. The Pac-Man syndrome begins when the delusion that the money that we have, the money that we work for, the money that people give to us, it all belongs to us. This delusion causes us to ignore the principle that Jesus taught, that the measure in which we give is a measure that we shall receive. It causes one to ignore that Jesus said and declared that it is more blessed to give than it is to receive. Church, this is a Pac-Man syndrome. It causes a victim to deny that the fact that the Bible says, and it clearly states, that the love of money is the root to all evil.
Yes.
Some folks won't be healed naturally or spiritually because they have a financial objection. Pastor Hamburg, I got to move on. I got to my point number 3. The third objection that will prevent some of us from being healed is that we fellowship with the wrong friends.
All right.
Look at your neighbor and say, do you fellowship with the wrong friends? Pastor, I'm going to talk to you because some folks might I look out at me and say I'm talking directly to them. And so it's not just any type of fellowship. We live in a time now, people just want to be around people. Millennials just want folks to take time up with them. And so they will put up with a whole bunch of junk just to have somebody to put up with.
All right.
The Bible doesn't tell us that we have to put up with folks just to put up with. As a matter of fact, the Bible says, come out from among them. It says, be separated.
That's it.
But when you got a problem of fellowshipping with the wrong friends, then it prevents you from being healed. Listen to what the text reveals about this man's fellowship. It's right there in his answer to Jesus. Look at your Bible. It says the sick man, I'm quoting now, it says the sick man answered him. He says, sir, I have no man. I have no friend.
That's right.
Can I interject it? It says, I have no man. I have no friend to put me into the pool when the water is stirred up. But while I'm coming, another steps down before me.
Well,
It says it right there.
Yeah.
Out of his own mouth, this man tells us that he had somebody that got him to the pool.
All right. Yeah.
Because some version says that he was an invalid.
Yeah.
this says that he was lame. And so we know that he had somebody. He had a friend that helped him get to the pool.
That's right. Yeah.
But his friend didn't help him get in the pool.
That's right.
Well, Reverend M, I need you to help me out tonight. What kind of friend did this man need? Help me when I leave tonight. I need to know what kind of friends do I need to be around. Well, I'm glad I asked myself that question. What kind of friend did he need? Well, I thought that I could depend on me, but the Bible says, lean not to my own understanding and acknowledge God in all my ways, that he would direct my path. And so I asked God, what kind of friends? And he said, well, just look at Luke chapter 5, and there you will see what kind of friends that he needed. In Luke chapter 5, there was a man that was in a similar condition. It says that he was a paralytic. He couldn't move, but he had some friends. What kind of friends that he had? He had 4 friends that took him to where Jesus was at. And he knew that if they could get him in where Jesus was at, that he could get healed. But there was a problem, Jerry. When they got there, it was full. And they saw they could not take him in through the door. But they stepped back. They said they were good friends. They didn't just leave him at the door that Jesus could walk by him when he came out. But what they did was they changed their perception. They were faced with a problem. But they changed their perception. As I said, that we can't get him in the door, we are drop him.
Come on, man.
In the roof. Pastor Mills was up here preaching. He said, can I tell you? Can I help you? Can I tell you that some of folks have some drop-off friends?
Oh my God.
You got friends that'll take you to the hospital,
Come on, preacher.
but they won't go in with you.
That's right.
You got some folks that will take you to your problem, but they won't go through your problem with you. I don't see a lot of young people, but I'm not going to make an assumption that all of you that may be in my age group are married. And so if you are dating, if you got a friend that is a drop-off friend,
All right.
they'll drop you off
Yeah.
at the hospital.
Yeah.
They'll drop you off at the restaurant.
Yeah.
They'll drop you off at your baby mama, baby daddy house. They drop you off, but they're not the type of friend that will go in with you. They're not the type of friend that's going to make sure that you get what you want and what you need.
That's right. My
And so-
Lord, my God.
Can I just put it this way? If you got friends that drop you off to your problem instead of dropping you into your praise, then you need to get rid of them. You don't have to put up with them. It's not it's not in the text, but I gotta pick the scalpel up because somebody needs it tonight. Somebody needs to hear that. They say, well, Reverend, that's the only kind of friends I can have. But I would tell you what my theology would say, but then I would get accused, and I might not get invited back. So let me tell you what the Bible said. If you want to have friends, you gotta show yourself friendly. The kind of friends you want is the kind of friend
You have to be.
That's right.
Thank you, HHNBC. Now, they said it like, I can hear them saying, Rev, you got to wrap it up now. You got to wrap it up. It's time to shut it down. It's time to shut it down. And so I've got to move on. We already learned that the first 3 objections are the first objection was the objection to the facts. The second objection was an objection to our finances. And the third objection is the objection to the friends that we have fellowship with. And our final objection tonight is this man dealt with at this pool was that he dealt with an objection. He dealt with an issue of his faith. At HHNBC, we've learned that faith is belief and hope put into action. If you think about it with me, the writer of Hebrews defined faith as the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. But the text paints a clear picture of this man doing the same thing on the year number 1. He did the same thing on year number 2. It goes on, I don't have time, but at 38 years, he was still doing the same thing, Jerry. But he was still expecting a different result. He said every year he had gotten dropped off at the same place. He had got dropped off perhaps by the same friend. And every year he ended up with the same experience and the same result. He came looking for healing and he went back home still an invalid. He had a problem with his faith. Every year somebody carried him back home to hear the same old stuff. If he was married, I could imagine his wife said, did you get it this year? Can we stop going to the Vegas convention? Can I get me a Dooney bird? Can I get a mule, a freight? Can I go and get some new clothes? But every year he had to bring back the same message. Somebody jumped in before I could, and now we must try again next year. This man had a problem with his faith. I can hear James Cleveland. If he was here, I hear him ask a man, where is your faith? I can hear that saved, sanctified, Holy Ghost filled, come speaking mother in the church I grew up in. I can hear her sing, Jerry. F-A-I-T-H. All you need is a little more faith. Faith, just a little more faith. He had a problem with his faith. Well, what was the problem, Reverend M? I don't know. His faith, it seemed to fail him. His faith, it was lazy faith. I don't know. But if my mama wasn't in the hospital with Alzheimer's, if my mama and I could go and talk to him, we just tell him, we come this far by faith. Lean on the Lord, trusting in his holy word. I don't know about you, but he never failed me yet. Well, I gotta leave you tonight. This man, he had a problem with his faith. And maybe it was lazy faith. Maybe he couldn't see his faith. I don't know. But the worst thing was, maybe he had inactive faith. Maybe somebody damaged his faith. But the worst part of faith, kind of faith you can have, is false faith. False faith is when a person declares and decrees a healing while denying the facts that the doctor, that the surgeon, that the specialist has presented to them. Now wait just a minute. I'm about to get in trouble because somebody said you gotta stand on faith. And I'm not saying that God cannot work a miracle. I'm not saying that to go to the doctor. What I'm saying is when the doctor told my wife that she had cancer, we could have declared and decreed all we wanted to. But if God wasn't going to work a miracle, I'd be a widower right now. But let me hold it for a second. Let me bring it home. 2 years, 2004 to 2006, cancer came and knocked on my door. And I could have declared and decreed I could have used false faith and ignored the treatment that the doctors told me to do. And then I could have been like a friend of mine who had the same kind of cancer, Jerry, who